Hi VC, it's Aaron, Mitha. Today I'm going to count down my top 10 albums of all time. Now, a couple days ago, my great friend Gary from Physical Format Rock and Roll issued a challenge to me, and he wanted me to count down my top 10 albums. Now, unbeknownst to him, I'd already been working on something similar to this. Now, for the past over half year, I've been trying to compile my list of my all-time favorite albums, and I'm still working on it. And I'm going to be doing this as a series, but I'm going to do my top 10 first, then I'm going to work back from wherever I start and go down until it hits this top 10. Now, I'm not sure exactly how many I'm going to do. I was thinking first off, I was thinking 1,000. I mean, there's literally 1,000 records I love, more than that. But then I was thinking that's too much. Maybe we go 500, maybe 250, maybe 100. I'm not sure yet. I'm still working out the details. But it's going to be a series, and I feel like my whole YouTube life and experience has led up to this. My first couple years, I was just really getting the hang of how to make videos. I did a bunch of countdown videos trying to figure out how to do them right, and this is going to be, this is why I actually deleted those a while back, because I was planning on making this into a whole series of just my top albums of all time, not by year and all that, and I didn't want them to be conflicting with what I have going now, because it was a couple years ago I did those, and it's probably changed a lot, so I don't want people going back, well, yeah, this one ranked higher than this one ranked higher than that, because it's going to be just a total thing of just everything mixed together. But I'm going to keep it all to what I have on a physical format, either a vinyl record or a cassette or a CD, even an 8-track. If I only have it on an 8-track, it could be included, as long as I have it in one format or another. And that's another reason I actually did my video a while back, just like a week or two ago, about the bands that I don't like, because this is going to really, people are going to think I just love everything, and they said that about me anyway, but I wanted to put that video ahead of this just to show that it's not everyone, I don't love everything, but everything I'm going to include in this list is something I absolutely love. And even, my number 42, for instance, is not that far from my number 487. It's like, I love them all. It's just, I got to rank them. And I'm going to get started on this, and this will be a top 10. And here we go. Starting off, my 10th favorite album of all time. And I've got to say, these are just my personal favorites. I will only say this on this video because I don't want to keep repeating it. It just has nothing to do with the popularity of the album or any kind of outside influence, just how I feel, and they're my favorites. And that's this whole series going to be my favorite albums. So, number 10 of all time for me, Van Halen with Fair Warning. My favorite Van Halen record, and this album starting with, what the hell is it? Mean Street, all the way through One Foot Out the Door. I just think it's an absolute masterpiece. Eddie Van Halen's finest work as far as I'm concerned. The guitar tone is incredible. The songs are great. David Lee Roth had never sounded better. One of the greatest riffs of all time with Unchained. You got Hear About It Later, which I think is one of the most underrated Van Halen songs. Absolutely love it. Push Comes to Shove is so unique for Van Halen. Just love this album. It's my number 10 album of all time. At number 9, this is an album from 1983, and I've loved it since I was a teenager. Still love it. Dio with Holy Diver. Now, Holy Diver, it starts off with, of course, Stand Up and Shout. Goes all the way through Shame on the Night. Every song is a masterpiece. Vinny Appice's drumming on this is incredible. I love Vivian Campbell's guitar work all through this album. The lyrics, stuff like Caught in the Middle and Invisible, the lyrics on those I love. Every song I love. Rainbow in the Dark, the popular song, is actually probably my least favorite on here, but I absolutely love that song too. But, the title song, Holy Diver, every song is brilliant on this. My favorite heavy metal vocalist ever, Ronnie James Dio, and Holy Diver, my number 9 album of all time. Number 8. Now, there's a bunch of debuts on here. That was a debut. I think I have 3 or 4 debut albums on my top 10. So this here, my favorite album of 1989, and one of my favorite albums of all time, obviously, since it's number 8, is Dangerous Toys' self-titled album. And when this came out, I was just addicted to it. I mean, it was on just an endless loop for months with me and my friends playing it and partying to it and singing along. And the lyrics are so unique on this, starting with Teasing and Pleasing and going right into Scared, which is about Alice Cooper. Bones in the Gutter, those lyrics are so unique on that. I love it. You got Queen of the Nile, Here Comes Trouble, 10 Boots Stompin's always been one of my favorites on here. That Dog to finish is just a great closer. And Dangerous Toys, I love all their albums, but they never even came close to this one. This is just a phenomenal album, and it's my number 8 of all time. Number 7. Now this is my favorite album by one of my top 3 bands of all time. And it was really hard because, if I'm going, you're going to see a lot of them coming up in the top 100. But this is number 7, Creatures of the Night from Kiss. This is actually my favorite lineup of Kiss. Their second lineup with Gene Simmons, Paul Stanley, Ace Frehley, and Eric Carr. One of the only albums with them. Ace doesn't play on it a lot, but still he's on it. Vinnie Vincent does some work on it. But this album is maybe their heaviest album, and it's the gap between their makeup and non-makeup years, and starting with the title song, Creatures of the Night, which is phenomenal. Just that guitar working that is incredible. Saint and Sinner, Keep Me Coming, love those songs. Rock and Roll Hell, the cover song, they changed so much from the BTO version. You got I Love It Loud and I Still Love You, the 2 singles, which I absolutely love, and I've always loved those songs. And then ending up with Killer and the fantastic War Machine, one of their heaviest songs, and still just gets me pumped up. My number 7 album of all time, Creatures of the Night from Kiss. Number 6, a debut album by a band that only had 2 albums, and I talk about this band endlessly. My number 6 album of all time, Sweet Affair, Stick to Your Guns. Starts out with Prince of the City and that killer drum intro. And then the guitars come in and just that driving, almost Van Halen mixed with Guns N' Roses type feel. But the vocals on here, Stephen DeLonge's vocals are so good. They got that twin guitar attack that is awesome. And Tricky Lane on the drums, who comes from a thrash band background, which adds a lot of power to this band. And they've just got so many catchy, great songs, hard rocking at times, and their ballads are amazing. Heart of Gold, I just put as my number 1 ballad of all time. That's on side 2. They do an acoustic song to finish it off. It's called Southern Comfort, which is amazing. And it's just, they're just very unique, very bluesy, really great album. Sweet Affair, Stick to Your Guns, number 6 of all time. There we go. Number 5. And this is the album that got me into music. When I was about 3 years old, my parents were playing it, and I fell in love with the song Octopus's Garden from Abbey Road. And ever since then, I've been like Chris Brophy, musically obsessed, and it came from this album. This is the album that did it for me. Hearing this as a kid when I was very young, I gravitated towards Octopus's Garden when I was a little kid, but I loved this whole thing, and I would just, every time my parents would play it, I got so excited hearing this album, and it stuck with me my whole life, starting with Come Together, the amazing song Something, and Here Comes the Sun, the 2 George Harrison songs. They're just fantastic, 2 of my favorites of all time. You got, I even like Maxwell Silver Hammer a lot. You got I Want You, She's So Heavy, and that awesome melody that ends with the end. Oh my God, this album is just phenomenal. My number 5 album of all time, Abbey Road from the Beatles. Number 4. Now this is another debut album. 2 albums from the same year on my top 10. Kind of amazing. And this album kind of changed my life when it came out. I was into all the hair metal and the thrash, and then this beast of a record came out, Alice in Chains' Facelift, number 4. And just the vocal harmonies between Lane Staley and Jerry Cantrell, and the lyrics and the darkness, and also the positiveness in some of the songs. But starting with We Die Young, still one of my favorite songs ever, goes right into Man in the Box, then Sea of Sorrow. Just whoa, it's unbelievable how it starts with those 3. Love, Hate, Love is so great. I love Sunshine is one of my favorites. It Ain't Like That. I'd never heard anything quite like that song when it came out. And ends with The Real Thing. Just a phenomenal album. My number 4 album of all time, Alice in Chains' Facelift. Number 3. Finally getting to my favorite band. Now this band I discovered in the late 90s, and they quickly became my favorite band. So my 3 favorite bands are all represented in the top 10. We've got the Beatles, Kiss, and Clutch. My number 3 is Elephant Riders, their 3rd album. And I've been blown away with this album ever since I first heard it. The lyrics are undeniably genius. We're starting with the song The Elephant Riders, which is about like a fictional alternate reality civil war where they use elephants instead of horses for the cavalry. What a great song. And Ship of Gold, 8 Times Over Miss October. What a great song that is. The Soap Makers, which I still play all the time. And then you got the Yeti with that great chorus about, oh my God. Muchas Veces, where they incorporate some Spanish into the song, and that whole thing's just a big, long, great story. The storytelling of Muchas Veces, along with Green Buckets, oh my God, Wishbone. Then you got Cracker Jack, the instrumental, and ending with the fantastic song Dragonfly. Number 3 album of all time for me, Clutch, the Elephant Riders. Okay, my number 2 album of all time. This album, it's slightly better than the other one I had on this top 10 just because it's got so much on it. Now, it's a very polarizing album. My number 2 album of all time is The Beatles, otherwise known as the White Album. I love this album so much, starting with Back in the USSR and Dear Prudence and Glass Onion to start it off. There's so many different sounds and textures all through this. Man, it's just... some of my favorite songs on this are songs that other people don't like as much, like Everybody's Got Something to Hide Except Me and My Monkey. Always been one of my favorite Beatles songs. And stuff like Rocky Raccoon. And oh my God, just every song on this. Double album. Even Revolution 9 I like, but it's probably the weakest on here. Well, the 2 Revolution songs are my least favorite on here. But there's so many different styles on here, like from Your Blues and just... While My Guitar Gently Weeps, Obla-Di Obla-Da, and go on and on. My number 2 album of all time is the Beatles' White Album. There we go. And my number 1 album of all time, my favorite band, Clutch with Blast Tyrant. Now this is another one. It's kind of a double album. I mean, it's a single album on CD. Have to make it a double album on vinyl because it's so long. There's so many songs, and every song is a standout. Starting with the very trippy Mercury to start out. You got The Mob Goes Wild, and then the really killer, Cypress Grove and Promoter. You got The Regulator, which is more bluesy. Ghost, which is a slower song that's so good. And Subtle Hustle, one of my favorite Clutch songs ever. Ending with the fantastic instrumental, maybe my favorite instrumental of all time, WYCIWYG. I think it stands for What You See Is What You Get, I'm pretty sure. But, you got stuff like Army of Bono, which is so unique. Worm Drink on here. Oh, my God. Every song is just amazing. In the Wake of the Swollen Goat. Spleen Merchant. Oh, La Curandera. Oh. Even has an acoustic song. And the CD has a bonus CD with acoustic called Basket of Eggs, which is fantastic. So this is my number 1 of all time. And I'm going to count them down again. Number 1, Clutch with Blast Tyrant. Number 2, The Beatles' White Album. Number 3, Clutch, The Elephant Riders. Number 4, Alice in Chains with Facelift. Number 5, The Beatles' Abbey Road. Number 6, Sweet F.A., Stick to Your Guns. Number 7, Kiss, Creatures of the Night. Number 8, Dangerous Toys. Number 9, Dio, Holy Diver. And number 10, Van Halen with Fair Warning. Now, I'm going to continue this series. Like I said, I'm going to start from the back and work my way up to this top 10. But this is the end of the series and the beginning of the series. Thank you so much, Gary, for pushing me to start this. I've been kind of meandering around, not really getting going on it. But now I'm going, and I'm going to get to it as soon as I can. I don't know where I'm going to end up going, how many I'm going to do. But every album I'm going to include in this list is going to be a favorite of mine. No weak albums, nothing I just kind of like. Everything's going to be something I absolutely love. And I will see you on the next one, and I'll have a great one.